we want. Welcome again to the 415. I am waiting for the link to go through to my co-host, the co-host with the most toast. We are here again to talk about everything political. 415,
Okay.
welcome to it. All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a miracle. It is a modern day miracle. All
Well, who
right.
even knows what the hell that was?
Well, here's the thing. And let me just give folks the warning. First of all, thank y'all for coming. Welcome to the 415. Sorry about the problems. I will post the link to the show as soon as we're done. But, things are fucked up in Trump world, and we're all living in it. So this isn't to be unexpected, but okay. So welcome to the 415. I'm Raina Star. With me, as always, is Star Bustamante. Say hello, Star.
Hello, Star.
As always, the 415 is brought to you by House of Black Cat Magic, Desperate House Witches, Dorothy Morrison, and the amazing Wild Hunt, wildhunt.org. Please give it all your support because, as we keep telling you, information is going to be harder and harder to get, especially accurate information. I mean, if you want to hear just any bullshit, that's easy to get. But if you want to hear real journalism written by real journalists, we suggest you support the Wild Hunt. Wildhunt.org. Give it all your support, please. For less than a cup of coffee at something having to do with a buck and a star, not my star, just saying. You could be getting real news every day, dropped right into your inbox. It's wonderful. Support it, love it, give it everything you can, because real journalism is going the way of the dinosaur. It's scary, and it's getting scarier. On this show, you will be hearing the opinions of myself and my co-host. It is not a reflection on any of our supporters or their subsidiaries. So just understand the swearing you're hearing is ours and no one else's. Anybody else can do their own swearing. We know that our friends are very good at it. But this is not a surprise. Anything having to do with Trump world does not surprise me anymore. And every day is a new disaster. But I fucking refuse to get hysterical anymore because I have noticed that that's what they want. They want us to be hysterical. They want us to be afraid. They want us ineffective. Because what happens when you become paralyzed with fear? The first word is paralyzed and nothing happens. And that's exactly where they want us. So I know that my co-host, my intrepid co-host, how I love her, she has got a lineup for us today, the likes of which you have not seen, ever, because they keep bringing it. I'm just telling you, the dodgy department is bringing it. More shit by the hour. It's a constant stream. They're after Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. The U.S. Postal Service is now looking at the chopping block. That hits a little close to home for me because I have loved ones serving in the Postal Service. I mean, they're cutting veterans left and right. Here again. Let me posit this question to listeners again who voted for this situation. You voted either for a person that you knew was lying, because you're like, oh, he's not going to do what he says he's going to do. Okay. So you voted either for a liar or you voted for somebody knowing that he was going to do this. Either of which makes you the jackass. I'm just saying. There's still time to redeem yourselves.
Wait, wait,
Although,
wait, wait. So I have to tell you about a thing
okay,
that
please
that
do.
that I that someone sent me this little video clip,
Please.
and it's a guy talking about extinction bursts. And
Okay.
so, do you know what an extinction burst
I
is?
do not. Please carry on.
Okay, so an extinction burst is when he used a great example. He
Mm-hmm.
said, so basically, let's say you go to buy something and you swipe your card and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go. And so then you like swipe your card again and again and again, and you're getting madder and madder the entire time that for, and you're like, what the fuck? Why isn't this working? And then in the end, you're like, fuck it, I'll just pay cash.
Mm-hmm.
So an extinction burst is basically, as it applies on a psychological level and to behavior, is that you do this thing, it doesn't work, and you get angrier and angrier until you change your behavior and do something else that does work. Now apply that to what are the MAGA folks are doing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because as we've seen, like winning the election did nothing for them. They are still just angry, angry, angry,
Yeah.
and they're getting angrier all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as everything that this current administration tries to do is being, roadblocked or slowed down or what have you, that um, they're just getting madder by the minute.
Mm-hmm.
And which is also being met with anger, uh, on the other side of the aisle as well.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
I think his this guy's bottom line here was like, don't give up because it's working. And he also kind of said, this is all reactionary based on Obama getting elected. And I agree with that, like
Mm-hmm.
that is really what kind of spurred where we are right now. So if there's one thing you could take away from this is the hope that this inspires, and that also it just underlines the fact that we absolutely can't give up. And so while we're endlessly calling our representatives and going to protests and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, which also remind me to tell you about the Chuck Edwards town hall that I went to last week.
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah.
uh, this we can just, while we're doing this, and I know it's exhausting, but sooner or later we're going to get to the extinction burst and kill this entire MAGA movement. uh,
I got a couple of things to say about that. Here's
okay.
here's here's the things I got to say about that. It's not just and it's always better when one team is angry as opposed to both teams being angry. Um, because when you can focus on one team being angry at a time, you get to watch how they work it out, and you get to see the result and the mistakes they make and the positive moves they make, and you learn from it. When you have both teams just being fuck all pissed, it's a mishmash. Nobody learns anything from the other team. Nobody learns anything from their own team. The level of anger that I am currently watching is such a distraction for me because I see Republicans, sane Republicans are pissed, crazy Republicans are pissed. Um, they're all kind of still in the same direction, even the ones that hate what's going on. And obviously, there are ones that hate what's going on because they're hearing what they're saying coming out of their mouths, and they know it's bullshit, and they know their constituents hate it, and they keep trying to tout this party line, but they know they're spouting crap, and they friggin' know they have to look at themselves in the mirror, and they hate it. And then you have on the other side, you have no one being organized. You have this one wants to hold a little sign, and this one wants to shake a cane, and this one wants to vote with them because he's too afraid of what might happen if he doesn't. And the others, and then you have the group that says, well, they're not going to do what we want anyway, so let's just fight them all the way. So it's complete fucking chaos, if you ask me. And until Democrats fucking stick to a plan. See, this is what I said before the election. All we got to do is stick to a fucking plan. We only have to do one thing, and we still couldn't fucking do the one thing. So my belief in my team is like, forget it. My belief in their team is, forget it. The only thing that I think is going to save us is disaffected Republicans. And I think the disaffected MAGA are going to say, wait a minute, everything this shithead promised us, I mean, and MAGAs will do some crazy ass shit. So it is my belief that that crazy can work in their benefit or to their detriment. It's been working to their detriment because we've been trying to tell these people he doesn't fucking care about you. The dodgy department is going to rob you blind. They're seeing it. They're finally realizing it. It doesn't make them Democrats, but it makes them sick of the bullshit they're being fed. So yay for that. It's not that we want everyone to be a Democrat. That is not the goal. The goal is to get back to normal government where we can disagree on real shit and not be worried about who fucks who in their bedroom on their private time, and we're allowed to disagree about religion. We've been doing that for a long ass time. That's fine. We can have healthy discussions. Listen, everybody's allowed to have their own mythology. It's perfectly fine. My God, your God, their God, whatever. We're all allowed to have whatever makes us feel better. Your gods are real, my gods are real. Whatever gets us through the day and stops us from killing each other. Although I find that a poor ass excuse to be a good human. If you need gods to stop you from being a shitty human, you're just a shitty human, but that's a personal opinion. But I seriously think, I mean, it is my sincere belief that only the disaffected, the truly disaffected, once again, are going to be what tilts this back in a somewhat normal direction.
Well, okay, so I don't disagree with that. And since we're kind of already on the subject, I want to go. I want to talk about the Edwards town
Yeah,
hall.
yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
so Hannah and I went, and I will just tell you that there were thousands of people that turned out. Okay, there was
Nice.
only capacity in this room for a little under 400. You've subtract space for media and other officials,
Hmm.
and there were probably maybe 360 seats open.
Okay.
uh,
And who is Edwards? Tell folks who don't know.
Chuck Edwards is our congressional representative for District 11,
Hmm.
so most of Western North Carolina.
Hmm.
He
And
is
how
he,
does
he
how
is
does how does that lean politically?
Oh, so Buncombe County and um, the immediate areas surrounding it are very blue, but
Hmm.
the rest of Western North Carolina is very red.
Okay.
Um, so, I mean, I would say conservatively, there were between 2 and 3,000 people lined up for this town hall.
Okay.
The people who seem to have gotten there first were uh, Republicans,
Hmm.
uh, as best as I could tell. And I don't know for sure, but
Hmm.
judging by, so Hannah and I went, we stood in line until, I mean, and this fucking line, I mean, like you can go online and look at footage from the event. Like
Hmm.
it looped from the door all the way back to the farthest part of the lot and then looped back by the building and then went all the way down the hill. It was really extraordinary. I
Wow.
mean, a
Hmm.
lot of people like turned out and were, unable to get in because there were, there was capacity for like, we'll say 360, 370, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And so Hannah and I hung around for a little bit, and we were really pleased to see such a good turnout, and also to see uh, a lot of a lot of people with fantastic signs offering pushback. It was great.
Yeah.
And so then we're like, okay, so we're not going to really accomplish anything by standing out here. So we made the choice to, of course, go to a local brewery who that had been shut down because of the flood and had just reopened. I don't know, a few weeks before. So we went there and we're like, okay, let's see if we can listen to this thing.
Hmm.
Apparently, they had not. There was not enough bandwidth for the amount of media that showed up to cover this. So we're listening to the NPR affiliate here, which is Blue Ridge Public Radio. And what once they got the bandwidth issues fixed because it was like buffering, it was really irritating. Um, what we heard a lot were, especially when he first started, because he's like, you know, basically touting his accomplishments of what he managed to get accomplished for
Hmm.
Western North Carolinians as far as immediate relief, with FEMA and other things. And
Hmm.
immediately you heard people saying, "You weren't here. You, you did good, but you need to shut up and listen."
Right.
And we heard this over and over again. And it was not, first of all, no Democrat is going to say you did good. You might
Hmm.
have an independent or two that would say that. So I would suspect that much of this was Republicans.
Hmm.
There was one guy that was ejected who was a veteran who just completely lost his shit. That was kind of fun. They had to escort him out.
Wow.
And, um, but I mean, I think overall, I mean, every time he mentioned Trump or Musk, the entire place was like, boo. um,
Well, I mean, who could blame them, really?
yeah, it was kind of hilarious.
I know, and it's so unexpected, but it's such a joy to hear that people are waking up and the Trump hypnosis is dissipating. People are having
Well,
that wake up moment.
so I think, I think that, you know, both what you said and what I said they're not mutually exclusive.
No, not at all.
And I think that we're really getting to that point. And
It's
I
so
have
quick too. It's not even 3 months yet. Oh my God. It's like, wow, hang on to your hat. This happened
well,
quickly.
yeah. Um, so I know I did a show outline, but I think we need to
As you
go
will.
right into what a constitutional crisis is.
Please do, because we're there.
Right. I think after the last couple of days, we're definitely there.
Yeah,
So, in a nutshell, a constitutional crisis is when the president goes against what is the law.
right.
And when he refuses to follow uh, what the court has said, you must do this, and either
Right.
not doing it or a court saying you may not do this, and then going ahead and doing it. And I think we're very much there
Oh
in
yeah.
light of some of the court decisions that have been handed down.
Hmm.
They've said you need to bring those fucking people back from Venezuela, or well, they said if the plane hasn't landed, it needs to come back,
Turn around. Yeah.
and and it clearly had landed after that order had been handed down, and they're even bragging about it. So that definitely constitutes a constitutional crisis.
Hmm.
Whether or not they're going to hold officials in contempt of court remains to be seen,
Mm.
but that is definitely where we are now. I think it's important to point out that many of the Republicans who have been unhappy with how things are being done because they're getting pressure from their constituents, and that is where that is what it is going to take.
Yeah.
Tom Tillis had a town hall scheduled for Monday that he no showed for,
Yep.
or canceled or whatever.
Mhm.
This does not play in their favor, and I don't think that they quite grasp how angry this is making people.
Right.
But many of the Republicans who have said either publicly or quietly that the red line for them would be if Trump would disobey the court. And so now this has happened, and I still think that they're probably not going to do anything unless there is enough pressure from their constituents
Mhm.
that
I agree.
this is that they're going to take action. But I also think it's only going to get worse. And even if they think that we should be deporting people who may or may not be criminals, and I mean that whole situation. So I'm going to segue right into what's been happening with the detention and deportation of alleged immigrants,
Mhm.
because at this point it's not just, well, let me back up. First of all, it's really important to recognize that the Constitution, as far as due process and many other things, that applies to anyone in the US. It does not matter if you are a citizen, if you are here legally, if you are here
Mhm.
not legally. um, you know it doesn't matter. Due process and the Constitution apply to everyone who has feet on American soil. Does not
Yep.
matter who you are, how you're here, why you're here. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You still get due process. I mean, if you're a fucking war criminal and you're in this country, you're still granted due process. That's how it works. So, one of the things that has been happening, and there's been an increasing amount of reporting happening on this.
Mhm.
The Guardian had a story yesterday that they published about a Canadian woman who, because ICE officials deemed her visa was wonky,
Mhm.
they didn't like how she had gotten her work visa, um, because she applied and then there was some question. And so she went to a different uh, office to get her work visa, pushed through.
Mhm.
And I said, we don't like this. And eventually, when she was in the country and then left and then decided to try again to get everything sorted out, and basically was detained for like 2 weeks. She did not have a criminal record. She was kept in horrible conditions. And there were, and she was somebody who had, we'll say, was of means and worked for a company that had her back and friends who got lawyers involved. And it still took them 2 weeks to get her released. And ICE officials lied, said, well, she said that she never told us she could pay for her own airfare, uh, on and
Huh?
on and on. And she's like, I had said this over and over again. And no one could tell her what was going on or why she was being detained, other than they just didn't, that they felt like her visa was, not right or whatever. I mean, it's just really horrifying shit, right?
Mhm.
Um, but so that was yesterday. Um, Earlier, last week, the Columbia University student, uh, what's his name, Kahil,
Mhm.
was basically just snatched by men who were, who apparently worked for ICE but had no identifying insignia or showed no ID. They grabbed him and threw him in
Mhm.
a van in front of his wife and his children and offered no explanation, would not engage with her. They had no
Mhm.
idea who took him or where they had taken
Why?
him,
Mhm.
why. Uh, and
Mhm.
it was, it was days before his attorneys were able to even find out where he was, which he had been shipped to Louisiana. Um, and now my understanding is that has been all of his hearings have been moved to New Jersey, I think. But uh, this is somebody who was a green card holder,
Yeah.
a green card holder. So he was in the U.S. legally and had a green card, is married to an American citizen, has children that are American citizens.
Hmm.
This is happening increasingly where they are detaining people that have
Hmm.
green cards or have, valid work visas. And the reason that they are giving is that these people had apparently either made comments on social media,
Hmm.
that they had files that had been deleted on their phones that was what the administration says was in support of Hamas.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's just break this down. There are several things happening here that are very clearly go against the Constitution and freedom of
Yes,
speech.
absolutely.
First of all,
Hmm.
if you're a green card holder, you're here legally. If you're here on a visa, you're here legally. You have the right to, say whatever you believe in. That
Yeah.
is, you have the right to criticize our government, which is where the real freedom of speech is, right? It's
Yeah.
the freedom to not be persecuted by your own government for criticizing them.
Yep.
And all of these people they're saying are, they are a threat to national security because they, in some way, supported what Hamas was doing or were anti Semitic, um, which is, that's the anti Semitic part is pretty rich to me
I know.
since they're,
I'm like,
since this entire administration is so anti-Semitic. It's not even funny. But the point I really want to stress is that there was no due process involved in any of this.
right.
And if they can sweep up and snatch people that are here legally, that
Sure.
are, whether they're green card holders or have work visas or travel visas, they can also snatch up naturalized citizens
Yep.
and US born citizens. And there have
Yes.
been a number of cases over the course of the last couple of weeks where
Hmm.
people who are, full on US citizens that have been, one guy was out, US citizen, brown man, was working in his neighborhood, hitting businesses, passing out his resume,
Hmm.
and they decided he looked suspicious, and ICE picked him up and detained him for 10 hours. US citizen. Now
Yep.
they did let him go, but I mean, this is a major violation of our Constitution. It's a major violation of rights. I hope every one of these people sue the fuck out of the government and ICE. And I mean, there are so many. I mean, could there be a class action suit? I mean, I don't know. Can there be a class action suit against ICE and the government? I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not a legal scholar, and I don't know exactly how all that works and where the lines are on that. But
Right.
at the rate we're going, I mean, I think we're going to see more and more of this kind of stuff. So, you know, something else I heard today, representative from California in the House was talking about the way that we get people to really care about these things is we have to tell the stories of these people that are being
Absolutely.
harmed.
Yeah.
We have to give it the we have to humanize it, because most people don't give a fuck if somebody gets deported. It doesn't affect them in the least bit. But the more that they hear the stories of, here's this person just minding their own business. I mean, some of the people who've been deported or been detained just recently, I mean, we're not talking about, somebody that they just that was a criminal. uh
Right. It's just a person.
Doctors coming
Yeah.
back. There was a woman who had been in Lebanon. Um she's a doctor. I forget which hospital, major hospital.
Hmm.
She had gone home to visit her family, and upon re-entering the US, ICE detained her and then deported her. No due process whatsoever. They said that they found things on her phone that, emails or social media like messages that had been deleted that were in support of Hamas, which could mean anything. I mean, I I know you, like me, people send you crap all the time. I get
Hmm.
tons of crap all the time,
Yeah.
which I then delete because I'm like, okay, I don't really need this, whatever.
Right.
Um, but I mean, this is not right.
No.
This is a professional who works in healthcare, who's a doctor. There was another, I think it was Brown University, a professor, like same thing.
Yeah.
So I think these are the stories we need to keep telling them. And every time you see one online, you need to fucking share it. You need to talk about it. And
Yeah.
because you never know who's listening either. If you're standing in line to get a coffee and you're talking about this horrible fucking thing that happened to this person who got deported for no fucking reason other than like they had something on their phone that I thought was maybe an issue,
Right.
without any kind of due process, we need to talk about it and we need to tell their stories, because that is one of the ways that we help change, shift the tide in all of this. And I do think things are moving really quickly.
Yeah.
And um,
Insanely quickly. It's just, I can't even keep up with how fast this is all going. Normally when an election happens, there's this quiet period where people just kind of settle down and settle in. And I've never seen anything like this. I thought last time was bad. This is just, there's so many balls bouncing that they want to make sure you're distracted so you can't watch every horrible thing at once. And it's just amazing. They
I
want you to
agree.
look over here, but they're just killing us quietly with the other hand while they're distracting us over here with this stupidity. It's the most amazing thing. We were actually in a training yesterday about managing yourself in times of intense stress, and there was this one snippet. It was taken from a YouTube video, and it's what, how many passes do you, it's two teams, and one team is wearing blue and I think one team is wearing white, and they're saying, and they tell you, okay, now that you've seen this, follow how many times the white team or the team in white passes the ball. Okay, so you watch that and you count it, and then they say, okay, so you saw that they passed it this many times, but did you see the dancing bear that went through the video? And everyone was like, what dancing bear? And sure enough, they play it back, and there was a dancing bear, and they're like, see, you missed it. And I said, yeah, but the trick is we were told to focus. So remember, when they're telling you to look over here, they're doing some sneaky stuff over here. So it's not just about the fact that you may not be as observant as you should be, but don't forget the people over here are lying to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was my takeaway, and everybody went, oh, and I'm like, yeah, just remember,
Yeah.
you may not be getting the whole story. So it's not just about the audience's lack of perception. so much as you have only given them part of the story, so you have actively misled them. So
Mhm.
don't blame it all on the audience.
Right. Well, and I think that that is, I mean, I think first of all, you have to recognize that the goal is to overwhelm us, right?
Yes, and it's
Is,
working
is
in some
over
instances.
is to overwhelm us to the point that we cannot focus. And if you can't, if you're not sure what's going on, then it makes it even harder to respond in any kind of, effective way. And
Hmm.
I think that is definitely a huge factor here. The other thing is there is probably a lot more going on than what we know.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you want to talk about uh, Schumer and that whole mess?
Oh, oh. Yeah, because that goes right back to my entire conversation about the disorganization. First of all, Schumer, I don't know about anybody else. Well, actually, I do, because everybody's screaming about the same fucking thing. The disappointment I feel, the anger I feel, the resentment I feel is just overwhelming because I understand his reasoning about signing because he's concerned about the shutdown where it doesn't help anybody. What disappoints me the most is the fact that the MAGAs have proven time and time again, no matter what kind of agreement, what kind of compromise, what kind of negotiation you try to have with these people, they are relentless and they will just straight up lie to your face. How can you even go into a conversation with these people expecting any kind of rational discussion where there's a happiness on both sides? It's not going to happen. We should have taken it to the wall, damn everything, and proven some kind of unity and toughness amongst the Democratic Party. This is why the Democrats keep failing. Everybody goes off into their own little world and their own little way of handling things. It doesn't show that we're strong as a party. And I'm the Democrat here, not anybody else, because everybody else is smarter than me and is independent. I got involved in the Democratic Party because of Howard Dean, who I met personally. That's a long story for another day. Um, but I mean, it's losing me. It really is losing me. My disillusionment is overwhelming and so sad. I'm still in because of AOC and Howard Dean. That's another story for another day. But if the party doesn't get its shit together collectively and figure out a game plan, again, before the election, Star, you and I talked about the fact that all we had to do was one thing and stick to the plan. And everybody, once again, just like in 2016, if they weren't personally asked and coddled and entertained and made to feel super important on their own individually, nobody wanted to go along with the one fucking plan. We only had one thing we had to do because I'm sorry, at the end of the day, there's only a choice between two in an election for president. That's it. Everybody wants to scream about a third party, but nobody wants to do anything to make it work on the off season. Well, until you, sweethearts, decide to do that, you've got a choice of two. And that's it. And now I'm going to be honest with you, and you want to call it hyperbolic, go right the fuck ahead, but we're heading in this direction. There may not be another presidential election. Who the fuck knows? He is turning over laws left and right. The Constitution is a piece of paper that he uses to wipe his fucking ass. And the dodgy department is right there backing him up with all the money in the fucking world. So call me crazy, but I'm looking at the end of shit. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. You want to say I'm crazy, I'm hyperbolic? Go ahead. Whatever you want to say. But as far as I'm concerned, the reason why this shit is all going down and the reason why this shit is all getting through is because that is the plan. The Department of Education is going away. Away! Do you know
Well,
what that
now
means?
wait, now
Oh
wait.
no, the papers are there. The papers are there. He's getting ready to sign the shit.
No, he just signed it. Actually, I think.
Oh, did he
Um,
really? Lovely. What's he doing?
um,
You tell me what he's doing.
right. Well, he's saying that they're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. But here's the thing. Okay, all of the you cannot shut down. Only Congress has the authority to do away with, like, the Department of Education. Uh, one of the major purposes of Congress is the allocation of funds. All of this is going to be legally contested. But
Yeah.
yeah, uh,
Yeah.
and it is,
Yeah,
and it
and
is okay. And I and
yeah,
I
but
get, I get where you're coming from. Okay, but in a way, it doesn't really matter whether what Democrats are doing at the moment, because right now it's the lawyers and it's the judges, okay, um, which won't save us per se, but it is slowing the roll of this. And I'm telling you, wait until people's fucking social security checks don't show up. You know, um, I mean, so I think that on one hand you are correct, okay. Um, on the other hand, so I'm kind of I was not happy with what Schumer did. Okay, I understand why he voted for cloture.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
um, I think part of me thinks that in the bigger picture, that whether we had gone into a shutdown or not, I don't know that that would have helped us. I think it would have. I think it would have made people. I think it would have made a segment of Democrats happy that they saw something actually happening.
mhm.
But I don't know that that would have really changed anything. And in some cases, I think it might have made things much worse.
True. I agree with that.
So,
I agree with that.
um,
However, and I've got to make this point, you're right. And I agree with that. However, it would have shown the one thing that the Democratic Party is having a hard time showing, and that is any kind of planned unity. And that is something that if you're going to be a party, you have to show. Period. End of story. The Republicans are in fucking lockstep whether they like it or not. And we know that a lot of them don't like it, but they act as a fucking unit, which is how you get things done. That is why they're in power. That's why they own every fucking branch. I'm sorry,
well,
that is the reality. And while we would have pissed off a ton of yes, absolutely, I completely agree with you. Would it have pissed off Democrats? Would it have hurt more than helped? Yes, absolutely. But you have to show unity. Otherwise, people have no faith. The party is a waste. Even having a party is a waste if there's no unity. End of story. That is my point.
okay, right, and I get that. Okay, I get that, but I don't know that. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. The other
Agree.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that I think gets overlooked is that there are probably many things going on that we do not know about, uh, and that members of Congress often do know. Okay, members of the Senate. Uh, I, I think that that is definitely a factor in how, when we see our representatives voting either for or against something and it doesn't make sense, that, you know, you and I probably won't live long enough to know the details of some of that, simply because uh, of how things work, and often things that uh, are huge factors are protected, and they don't make it into the public sphere for decades. So I think that you always have to you kind of have to weigh that of like, what do they know that we don't know and may never know? I mean, I have enough friends that have worked in government and have dealt with things that uh, the public is not privy to in many
Hmm.
cases,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
um, how many disasters are averted or whatever. They don't, unless it's a big win, they're not gonna say
Right.
what those things were. So I think that that is also something that we have to you have to factor in to all of this as well. Is it frustrating? Yes. Is it just, I mean, I'm like you. I'm like sitting back and going, well, what the hell? Um, none of this is pretty. None of it looks good on any level. Uh, Democrats definitely need to get their messaging. They need to do something. What that something is, I'm not even sure at this point. But I think overall, none of this is sustainable. It's not sustainable. The breakneck pace that they are trying to make changes to the government, none of this is sustainable. And I think that we're going to hit like some major pushback I mean, well, we're already seeing major pushback. It's just a matter of how soon the Republicans are going to get on board and finally really push back. I don't think we're far from that happening. Um, the minute that they start hearing real pushback from their constituents, that is when, uh, sorry, cat fly by.
No
Um,
worries.
that is when we'll really start to see some action. But until that happens, I don't think basically nothing is happening. Um, so if you're a Republican or somebody that voted Republican and you're hearing this, you need to be you need to be complaining, and you need to be complaining loudly,
Hmm.
because that is the only way that anything is going to happen as long as the Republicans hold the House and the Senate,
Hmm.
nothing is going to change.
And I will tell you that in speaking with my Republican associates, I have never seen so many people go from, cock of the walk to a feather duster so quickly. Because when I approach these people, that's not my line. That's a line from Mad Max, but that's another story.
Yeah, I
Um,
know it's great, but it's a
it's a
great
great.
line.
It is
Oh
a
my
great
god,
line,
it's a great line.
and I love Tina Turner, God's protector. But anyway, now when I say, what happened? I thought you said he wasn't going to touch the Constitution. And they're like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I mean, they're actually not defending him anymore, which to me is outstanding as far as an admission, because these are people that would never concede that he had ever done anything wrong.
Hmm.
Like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all right. And these same folks are now like, I don't know how we got here. I don't know. I didn't think he would do this. And that's when I came up with, oh, so you voted for a liar, knowing he was a liar. Yeah.
You're so
You know, there's
mean.
there's no
You're
but
so
there's
mean.
no, but it's true. It's true. People who voted for him either were okay with this going down or they voted for a liar. Wow. Not a good look either way. Be
Agreed.
careful. Be careful when someone tells you who they are. You might want to believe them.
And
It's
I
in
don't disagree with
relationships
that.
and politics. Fuck, it's everywhere. If somebody sounds like an asshole, you can't parse that out. If they're an asshole, they're probably an asshole. you know when your best friend tells you don't date that guy, he's a jerk, and then you're 2 weeks in and it's like, holy shit, he's a jerk. You can't suddenly say, oh, I'm just going to give him another chance. No, get away from this jerk. Why do you think he's going to be any different for you? He's not. He's a jerk. Let it go. She's using you for your money. You're not any different. She doesn't love you. Get away from her. She's a gold digger. Dump the bitch. Goodbye. Next. I mean, seriously, it works that way for everything. Why? There is no magic to politics. These are just people. Truly, there are good people, there are bad people, there are okay people. There are people who are interesting and exciting. There are people that are just wonky and trying to do the job. Was Al Gore exciting? No. Al Gore could put a clock to sleep, for God's sake, but he was smart and he knew what he was talking about. And now look at the earth and the glaciers and all the shit falling apart from climate change. Stop. You don't need a rock star. You don't need somebody who looks good on screen. You don't need someone entertaining to be president. You need somebody who can actually speak with people and communicate well and negotiate and take care of his country and care about the people he represents. You don't need a fucking boisterous, moronic, loudmouth asswipe who wants to own everything in the world, including countries that have nothing to do with his country. This is stupid. We look like morons. Do you know? And people don't realize how much this affects anything that they're connected with. It affects everyone's job. When you have something go wrong, something simple, something that's made in another country, in a neighboring country, and you have to reach out to that country to get a piece or a part or an assist on just getting something to start working again, and they find out you're calling and you're from America, and they're like, oh, it's an American. You get on the back burner. It's not a joke. It's serious. It's really
No.
happening. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
it used, it used
I
to be the first person you would talk to, and now you're lucky if you get a response in 3 days. People don't
yep.
understand. It's affecting
No.
every fucking thing. You get it. I know you do, because
Yep.
you're in business. You understand. But folks don't realize how this affects absolutely every aspect of life: food, medicine, cars, everything. Absolute car seats, diapers,
Yep.
everything we deal with in our lives is connected to somewhere else. We don't
Yep.
make things like we used to. We are not a self. Um, we're not. What's the word I'm looking for? Star, something that takes care of itself
Self-sufficient.
exclusively. We're not. Thank you. We're not a self-sufficient country. Um,
Well,
Far from
but
it.
no country is, okay? Let's be clear that we moved into a global economy and a global supply and demand situation. And let me just interject here that, they have this wild idea that they're going to bring manufacturing back to the US. And the reality is this: first of all, the infrastructure no longer exists to support, like the textile industry
I was in
or,
there. Yep.
um, I mean, that just doesn't, the infrastructure, those factories, even steel and aluminum production, we do not have the infrastructure and the facilities to produce the amount of product that we need.
hmm
We simply don't.
We don't. Yeah.
And no country does. I mean, unless they're, I mean, the indigenous tribes of maybe the Amazon, they have everything that they need because they don't use any technology or what have you. But for the most part, there is not a single country on the face of the planet that is self sufficient. You know, there is no Wakanda. You know, it just doesn't, there isn't.
Yeah.
And we rely on many, many countries to produce many of the things that we use and many of the components, you know, automobiles, you know, I mean, uh, you know, all of that, every single thing. If it's something that you use on a regular basis and it has moving parts, there's a really good chance that at least half of whatever is inside of that device or thing or whatever, you know, whether it's a blender or a cell phone, many of those components, I mean, are not, they're not made in the US.
Right.
So yeah, everything is affected. I can only imagine how your industry is affected.
Insane.
You
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, you're right. And so, I mean, all of this is nutty, and sooner or later, you know, the chickens are going to come home to roost. I mean, I don't think we're there yet, but I am really kind of just watching to see what happens because it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. And
Absolutely.
just like what we saw with the stock market kind of crashing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It's still
yeah,
bouncing around. It's
yeah,
still
it
going
is.
back and forth. I mean, it's.
Yep.
I mean, I
No.
don't know what to say about that. My whole future's wrapped up in that. I have investments like most of the world does if you have a 401k because there's no such thing as there's no pensions anymore unless you have a government job, and of course those are going away because people are things are just hitting the skids at an alarming rate, and nobody seems to know what to do about it. But something's going to have to be done for sure. It's just, it's over the top. It's over the top. And
Well,
people's lives depend upon it. And, the thing about the Department of Education that I think scares me the most is that it's not about necessarily the education as much as it's Head Start. It's about kids eating. Sometimes it's their only meal of the day. And just what is going to happen to these kids who have nothing else, you
yeah.
know?
Well,
And
you're absolutely right. And they just cut funding to all of the food banks too. I don't know if you saw that. That happened yesterday. Late
yeah,
they
forgot.
announced that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Uh,
because I'm so bombarded with it. Here's the thing, because we're wonky like that, and we're trying to stay on top of everything, and this is why for me, it gets overwhelming because I'm trying to get all the information possible, and it's so overwhelming because it's a constant deluge of shit,
yep.
and I
Yep.
can't. My brain cannot possibly hold all this fucking information. I mean,
Well, no
I
one
can't.
can. No one can. And you know, which again, that's the whole point. You know, if you can't keep up with it and you don't know what issues to call about, then that even neutralizes that aspect. So it is a lot. Um, I think we're going to run a little late today.
Oh well.
Although we did get started a little late, so
Yep.
I'm good with that.
I'm fine.
Uh, so one of the things that if you have any doubts about how they're trying to restrict information, you don't have to look any further than what they've done with the Voice of America.
Oh
So
gosh. Yeah. Jeez. I forgot
basically,
about that.
yeah, I know, right? There's so much shit like you can't even, like you said, um, I want to talk about the Voice of America for a little bit, and then we're gonna, just in case you weren't already overwhelmed, I'm gonna give you a list of things that they fucked up or broken since this administration has come into power. Uh,
That's a whole other hour, isn't it?
no, well, we're just gonna we're just gonna
Hit the
hit
low
the
notes. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, but so the Voice of America was basically a post war World War, uh, maybe even World War One or World War Two. Um,
Oh,
that
maybe I'm
was
wrong. Wait, I'll look it up. Go ahead. I'll
because I
look it
thought
up.
it was 90 years, but then I'm like, well, wait, that's no, that's right. Yeah, World War Two. Yeah. Your lovely husband is like holding up two fingers
Oh, I
in the
was right.
background there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got scared because time is the way time is right now. I can't keep up with anything, it
Well, he
seems.
even knows what day it is. It's a day. I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
day and it's light out. That's about as good as I could do. Um,
Whew. Girl.
anyway, so the Voice of America was basically created as a way to promote democracy in a,
Yes.
in a very soft way, right? By
Mhm.
supplying accurate news in multiple languages, and it was broad because it was broadcast over the air. That meant that anybody that had a fucking radio could pick up the signal, could listen to what was happening, and is kind of you know kind of almost like a soft propaganda machine, but it was reporting accurate news and getting it to people in countries that otherwise might not have access to accurate news. And it's been touted as one of the greatest tools that we ever developed as far as getting the truth out there and having people be educated and know what's going on. So, when you think about countries like China, okay, when you think about countries like North Korea, uh, you know, uh, prior to the Berlin Wall coming down, I mean, many places where democracy was not a thing that was really happening and information was extremely restricted. I don't think people in the US understand what the reality of, like, even living in Russia is. Even with
Mhm.
the access to the internet, I mean, they can throttle the fucking internet uh, to make sure that, you know, you can't access the sites that will give you accurate information.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a media blackout. And I don't think, as Americans, most of us don't really, it's outside of our ability to comprehend what it would be like to log on to your computer and only have a limited sources, of information that all basically said the same thing and provided no opposing viewpoints. That, I mean, this is what state run media looks like, is that the government says this is what we want you to believe, and this is the only story you're going to get, and anything else is false. And we're not even going to say that anything else is false unless we absolutely have to. We're just going to make sure that you can't access any other viewpoint. And the Voice of America was the counter to that, because if you had a wireless radio,
Mhm.
you could pick up Voice of America in pretty much everywhere. I forget, they broadcast in 49 languages, I think, which is huge.
Huge.
They're everywhere. And now the Trump administration, which I think now every time we say that his name, one of us needs to boo. Just boo. Or Musk, boo. Yeah, that works too. That works too. um,
Telling you,
but
the sheep are afraid.
so, I mean, this is bad for not just us, it's bad for the world. And it's bad for democracy. And it's bad for anybody that supports any kind of equal rights, for diplomacy, for democracy. It's just really horrible. And you have to wonder, well, I mean, I don't have to wonder, but I mean, I can't imagine why anyone would think that that was a good idea, because it's not a good idea. It helps nothing, and it will only make things worse, and it will allow these oligarchies and, straight up undemocratic forms of governance to be unopposed. So, you know, they're also going after libraries,
Oh,
because
yeah. That makes sense.
God forbid. But I mean, that's in the same wheelhouse as getting rid of the Voice of America. So when you make your 5 calls, maybe
Yep.
consider complaining about the Voice of America being gutted. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. It's just a lot, a lot, a lot, and you know, there is so much that they are breaking. Um, just so Empty Wheel, who's somebody that I've followed for quite a long time, does great uh, kind of analysis of what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so far, the things that they have destroyed, because they've attacked, you know, or done away with the lower drug prices. They're attacking our
Yeah.
infrastructure and free wind energy. Then
Mm-hmm.
in health and science, the National Institute of Health, of course, they've gone after them. They've gone
Mm-hmm.
after cures for cancer. They're also trying to block the mRNA vaccine that is in the process of being developed for pancreatic cancer. Okay, which shows real promise. Um, they have gone after or completely gotten rid of any research connected to the VA.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they have gone after kidney transplants. Of course, they gutted the CDC, and
Mm-hmm.
then because of the bird flu, they, anybody that was working on that, they fired all those people, but they have since rehired, made a bunch of them have had to be rehired. They're going after flu shots, or have said that they will no longer fund that. Um, Research into diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, telehealth, eliminating telehealth as being something that is supported. Um,
Wow.
and they're looking at, ways to prevent there being any kind of cheaper broadband access,
Mm.
uh, any kind of protections for the disabled. Uh, Many of the USAID programs, um, and I guess, targeting polio, malaria, TB, HIV, and, malnourishment are all in line of that with that. Um, Now, a lot of this is there's a lot of back and forth because there are so many. I mean, I'm not even halfway through the list. Okay, not even
I
halfway
believe
through.
it. Mm-hmm.
Um, Indian Health Services, they fired everybody, but then they rehired some people. The CHIPS Act, which was,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
focused on us being able to produce our own, they've gutted that. Um, Programs that helped with fentanyl production, disrupting that in Mexico. So Agent Orange cleanup in Vietnam, out of here.
Great. Nice.
Anything having to do with Antarctica, Food inspections, they're out of here. Gun violence warnings, nope. Um, grants for farmers, renewable energy for farmers, other farm grants, they're all out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're now, and here's a little cognitive dissonance for you. They're halting EV plug-ins, including at government buildings.
EV plugins.
Yeah. So if you have an electric vehicle,
Oh
and now,
wow.
yeah. So like if you own a Tesla, which I don't know, I would never own a Tesla now because
No.
they just burn too much. Not that I would ever endorse violence or, tell you to go
No.
catch someone's car on fire, but they do kind of burn all on their own sometimes. Um I mean, just like crazy. Uh Dam safety, uh the weather
Wow.
service, which we talked about this last time.
Oh yeah.
The weather service, weather forecasting stations, which I think some of those have been, you know, they've backed off on some of that. Volcano warnings.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, keeping the Colorado River flowing. National Park Service. Now, some of them have been, some of those people that have been let go have been partially rehired. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just, you know, uh, the Michigan sea lamprey eradication, that program is gone. Prairie education, food aid for schools, environmental research, all, are all things they want to get rid of or have moved to do so. Uh, no investigations for, anybody with a lot of money that cheats on their taxes because, they're getting the IRS. Consumer protection, gone. Easy tax returns, gone. Taxpayer assistance, out of
Gone.
here.
Yeah.
Uh, experts on complex tax collection, gone. Affordable housing, nope. Um, so that was just under financial stuff, right? Those last few. And then when it
Mhm.
comes to security, so no research for national security. Uh, FAA litigation, which is tracking pilots who shouldn't fly and flight schools who shouldn't teach.
Uh-huh.
Union protections for TSA workers. Uh, Protections for bird flu workers. Uh, uh, Looks like there's an attempted reversal on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Justice, under the heading of justice, any corporate prosecutions, integrations, and complaints about tech companies. When it comes to international stuff, they're no longer going to try to find any of the kidnapped Ukrainian children. So all of the children that Russia took, yeah. Um, Nothing. Climate change and air quality, especially on an international level, nope. And then to date, they've fired 8 inspectors general, uh, who incidentally uncovered $183 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse.
Mm.
Yeah. There's like a long list of people that they've ousted or have forced to resign. I mean, and I feel like almost like what happened with the Institute of Peace, and some of the which Rachel Maddow talked about this like earlier in the week. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, honestly, like I mean, they're going after anything and everything, and this is not even a full list of this is just the stuff that Marcy could jot down off the top of her head.
Mm-hmm.
um so uh it's not even
Hmm.
a complete list. And the only way that I mean, some of this stuff is never going to come back. Much of it is not going to be fixed. But the one way that we can, the one thing we can do is we continue to push back. We continue
Yep.
to talk about it. We talk about it wherever we can. We talk about it to anybody who will listen.
Yep.
And I know it's overwhelming. So
Take
my
breaks.
suggestion, take
Yep.
breaks, but
Yep.
also pick three things. Pick three
Yep.
things that are really, really important to you and focus on those three things.
Yeah.
And go to every freaking protest you can. And if you can't go, help spread the word. Um, there's a big movement not to donate any money to Democrats until they do what we want them to do. I don't know that I agree with that. This Wisconsin race for the state Supreme Court is like really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the only way that they're going to win that is by people turning out, but also the way you get people to turn out
Money.
is money. But also,
Money.
oh, by the way, I think there is also, and you can do this no matter what state you're in. They are looking for people to help man phone banks and make
Yep.
calls, and it's
Yep.
all to people that have voted for Democrats in the past. So it's not you're not going to be you would not be calling angry people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a quick search online will pull up how to get in touch with those folks.
Yep.
There's just a lot, so it's a lot, and it's probably going to continue to be a lot. And you
We're gonna
know,
be here for it. We're gonna keep talking to you about it.
yeah, I'm not going to shut up. You can't shut me up. I'm gonna
No,
talk to people whether they want me to or not. I'm gonna keep
me
talking until they
too.
come cart me off.
I know, me too. Well, that's and the truth of it is that folks, we don't get paid to do this. We do this because we care about what's going on. We care about each other and the people around us, and as long as we can get away with continuing to do this show, we're gonna do it. They're literally gonna have to shut us down to make us stop. Um, and it's not like I don't think that that's possible. As a matter of fact, I very much think it's possible that they will. But until they fucking do, we're fucking here. And we're here more than we ever were. We're here every other week. And if necessary, we will even bump that up. So just be prepared because these two ladies are going to keep on talking because we're pissed. And we want our fucking country back, goddammit. And that's the name of the game. You got anything else, Star? No,
I don't think so.
not for this
I mean,
week. Yeah,
it's been really warm and sunny here, and
yeah.
now it's supposed to snow. So,
I know. I
you
don't
know,
get it either. Yeah.
hey, but climate change is not a thing, okay? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
it
know where
needs
you
more
heard that.
study. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it needs more study. We don't know. We don't know if it's real. I people are telling me. I don't know. I keep hearing people are saying. I don't know. But really, I don't know. Uh, but anyway, I want to wish everybody a blessed equinox. Hopefully,
That's
you got to
right.
balance your egg this morning. We balanced our egg here. Uh, but anyway,
Egg,
um,
egg. Did you say egg? Who
I
can
said
fucking
egg.
afford an egg? Jesus Christ! I want you to know. Okay, before we go, you
Yeah.
should never have said egg.
Why?
Um, I went. I had to go to the French Broad Co-op, which is probably the most reasonable place to buy like local, healthy, organic
Food.
eggs.
Yeah.
You want to know how much they were? You
Afraid
want to
to
guess?
ask. Well, I guess 8,
I think it was.
9.
I think 10.98 is it was the
Ooh.
price.
Ooh.
Yeah, even at the local
Ooh.
Ingles,
Yeah.
eggs are now over $6
Yeah. Yeah.
a dozen.
I
Yeah,
pay that.
so
I do pay. I pay $8 for a dozen eggs right now.
it's
Yeah.
insane.
It's
It's
not a
insane.
joke. It's a real thing. So Republicans, I hope you're happy with the price of eggs. And I mean, listen, I say this as a joke partially because bird flu is a real thing, and I get that. But the fact of the matter is that everything else has gone up too. He hasn't done shit for you. He hasn't done shit for any of us. He is lining the pockets of someone but it's not us working class people, I'll tell you that much. And it sure as fuck isn't the poor, because they're getting the raw end of everything. Um, I'm just going to say, blessed equinox. Say goodnight, Star.
Well, happy Ostera and good night, Star.
Good night, Star.